For the first time ever, we are going to discuss the entire history of World War II era girl comics from Marvel Timely Comics. And believe it or not, there are 55 of them that came out between 1943 and 1945. These might be innocent girls, girl stories, sexy girls, superhero girls. They're all here today. We're going to look at 55 of them. And it all started with Joker Comics from Timely Comics. Number 6, dated January 43, cover date. Basil Wolverton was the artist for this run. So really, he is Timely and Marvel's very first successful and amazing artist who drew very cute girls. Looking at the CGC census, you can see that a few copies have been graded because these are historically important, coming from the World War II era, early golden age. Now, what's interesting is that Timely Comics had only been doing superhero comics for 2.5 years, but already felt it was time to branch out into other genres, and Joker Comics is where it all started. Notice that no matter which issue it is graded, there's very few of them, and you're going to see that trend with all these books. Superhero books get all the attention. These don't. These are much rarer, and I find these actually way more interesting because they really show what life was like, the fashions, the hairstyles, clothing, vehicles, and you don't kind of get that as much from the superhero comics. So what happened after Joker Comics? Well, thanks for asking. Miss Fury came out. Now, Miss Fury was an attempt to do a female superhero. And starting with Miss Fury number 2, summer 1943, we would have 6 issues put out during the war years. And interestingly, it was a reprint of a Sunday newspaper strip written and drawn by Tarp Mills. And we've got Hitler on a cover. We've got Bondage. So these have Tarp Mills' story and art. And Alex Schomburg did the covers for issues 4 and 6. Again, these have been graded more by CGC. Again, the higher values being superhero related. Well, what came out next? Well, they established Tessie the Typist, and she got her own series, and this would run for a long time. One of Timely's most successful titles, and but again, very scarce. And you can see also that this era, Archie Andrews and his gang have now been created. So there is this new market for teen-flavored comics, teenagers, cute boys and girls. So Tessie the Typist ran for a long time, as I mentioned. Let's look at it on the CGC census. You can see that Basil Wolverton was the artist for these issues as well, and Powerhouse Pepper would become a backup story. That's one of Wolverton's creations, so that would appear in many of the issues. Note that we only have 5 issues put out during the war years. And again, a few copies graded, a lot of demand for Basil Wolverton art. Also, Hervey Kurtzman, Morris Weiss worked on some of the issues of this title. After Tessie the Typist, Timely came out with maybe their greatest idea ever. They created Miss America Comics, but they only did 1 issue, and then they changed the title to Miss America Magazine, starting with number 2, November 1944. That issue is also historic because it's the first appearance of Patsy Walker, and there's a 1-page origin of Miss America. Now, this would go on to feature other stories that would relate to the teenage girl market, and this probably did become Timely's best-selling comic of the 1940s. Most likely, you'll see later on, they brag that they were selling, I think, 600,000 issues. I think you'll see that on one of the covers. Again, not many copies graded except the first couple key issues. And this magazine also started the trend of photo covers for Timely Comics that would continue on into the romance comics a few years later. Next, Timely would debut Gay Comics. Now, Gay Comics started out as a one-shot, just 1 issue, also featuring Tessie the Typist and Powerhouse Pepper. Also the first appearance of Willie, who would later get his own series. And again, we got Basil Wolverton working on this title. Again, not too many copies graded, but a few. Definitely demand again for World War II early Marvel Timely comics. You'll see that the title was relaunched with issue number 18 in the fall of 1944. So in total, we have 6 issues put out during the war years. After that, we have Junior Miss. Now, Junior Miss was also launched and was a one-issue, basically one-shot. Frank Sinatra and June Allison have biographies in issue number 1. There's Mike Sikowski cover and art. Only 6 copies graded. There is a 9.2 miraculously, but that was the end of this title. But then the title was reused for a relaunch in 1947, and you can see then it became a monthly and bi-monthly, I should say, and it was quite successful for a number of years. Now, after that, we had Georgie Comics. Georgie Comics had 3 issues published in 1945. Frank Karen did the cover art for this series. Later on, you'll see that Patsy Walker did appear in some issues. Harvey Kurtzman wrote his Hey Look series. Margie had a backup story. And by 1947, there was the Marvel Group logo put on the comics, even though the company would not be called Marvel officially until 1961. Next came out Patsy Walker. She was given her own series after debuting in Miss America. Summer 1945, we get number 1 from Timely. 39 copies graded. There are 2 9.4s. And this would also be a bi-monthly title. And actually, most of Timely's comics in the 1940s were bi-monthly. We got Al Jaffe eventually working on cover art on this series. Georgie was a teen star. She had a backup story. And then the Marvel Group logo again later in 1947. So Patsy Walker would become a super popular title for Timely, running through Atlas and even for Marvel into the mid-60s. Next one is a really oddball book. We've got Dolly Dill. Dolly Dill was a one-shot in 1945. The only issue, there are 13 graded. There's a couple listed on eBay right now. But just an oddball issue. Why it didn't continue, we don't know. And then after that, basically ending the war years off with the best creation that Timely would come up with. Millie the model gets her own series. Her origin is in issue number 1. We've got Ruth Atkinson cover. Issue number 3 is the first appearance of Chili 7. Millie dresses as the Blonde Phantom in number 2. Willie had backup stories in a lot of the issues. Ken Bald would do the cover art, as well as Basil Wolverton. Hetty and Rusty later had backup issues. And Millie the Model would run from 1945 until 1973. One of the longest running titles ever for Timely or Marvel Comics. Well, there you go. 55 cool books released during the 1943 to 45 period. Of course, that was just the start of these genres. We would have many more titles in the teen theme, kid theme, funny theme, romance theme from Timely as they expanded into other genres in the late 1940s. All these books are extremely rare, though. If you collect those, love to hear from you. Tell us about collecting these.